Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And Bill, I just have one question for you. Are you exasperated yet?
I am so exasperated because the skill in communication on both sides of the aisles is not effective. It's causing more division, and for people to promise to be the healer of the great divide and just saying we're going to bring back together, and then doing things and using language that is divisive is exasperating and tired, because the need for awareness and care and effective communication aren't being met. Is that if a person has a conservative value, then it's not that mindset that gets people to collaborate with you. It's not that mindset to, cause, the level of healing that needs to take place. And it's really literally not available. So it's very, very, very challenging.
Well, it's interesting because I bet a lot of our listeners might be surprised that after the vice presidential debate that you especially, or both of us, are exasperated because it was a decidedly toned down, more civil affair, or
right.
event maybe is the better word. And a lot of us were sort of, after the first 5 minutes, are like, like breathing a sigh of relief. Thank goodness this isn't going to be just another, bully argument throughout, for 90 plus minutes.
Right.
But having said that, and certainly I was in that camp of people that was relieved at that point, but having said that, it was really unfortunate, to put it nicely, I guess tragic at worst.
Right.
To see the lack of skill that these professional politicians have.
Yes.
I mean, you could see Senator Kamala Harris was the prosecutor. That came across pretty quick. She was being the prosecutor, right?
That's right.
And you could see Pence was doing his darndest to hold up the Trump torch. And I'm with Trump. I signed on for this. I'm going to try to make him look as good as I can. But it was both of them, each of them independently, could have been so much more effective. And I think it would be helpful to understand, Bill, what you saw in that regard, and maybe some things you might have said differently.
So I really appreciate that, Tom, because, the skill and mastery in language has to do with, you've got to really kind of stay close to the certain need that you're trying to make the point on. So if it's about fiscal responsibility, which is a primary Republican talking point, we want to be fiscally a conservative. You do. Great. What does fiscal conservative looks like? Well, what it looks like is not adding a $2 trillion debt with a tax cut. That is not fiscally conservative. That is a choice that you're making to not have money come into the federal government because you don't like the way the federal government is spending money, but you're not really telling truth about that, because you wouldn't make such a commitment for future generations to clean up the debt, because that's actually what just took place through the tax cut. Now, what it did was is starved a lot of programs, because now all of a sudden that there's this debt, well, where are you going to take the money from now? Well, that's the thing that's really, disheartening, because the need for honesty isn't really being met. And the things I would have chosen to say would be saying, as the moderator, we're going to be talking about taxing and spending money. What we value as a society. Do we just want to just spend for military only? Do we want to increase our military might? Because that was one of the primary things that took place when the tax break was taking place. Or are we going to pay for some social services or entrepreneurial support? What are our other choices? Now, all of a sudden, it's a discussion about a budget line item called, what is the value of the military towards us? Do we really need that much? Now, the military contractors will be like, great, you want to write me a blank check? Hey, I'll figure out a way to spend it. I'll do this with it. I'll do this with it. I'll do this with it. I'll take the cash and I'll be glad to spend it. Oh, you want it on this kind of plane? No, just, we got to figure out a way to spend it, because, no one's going to vote against that. No one's going to vote against the military. So again, the exasperation I have is that there's not a value-driven question that's asked. How are we going to care for our people? Now, it looks like it's a simple sentence, but the value is caring for Americans. And is caring going to be equal or not? Or is caring going to be who has the most money gets the best care? That's what we're doing. See how this one works?
Right.
So it's healthcare is not the issue. It's caring for our citizens. The moderator with their question can say, America, is it going to care for its citizens fully, or is caring going to be conditional on how much money that the person has, or how much insurance does the person have? Is that what caring looks like? Now, all of a sudden, caring for things going to look like, well, caring for all of our citizens then is not 20 million not having insurance, because that's not demonstrating that you're caring for every citizen. And that doesn't demonstrate that.
Well, Bill, let's take an example from the debate. There was a point at which they were talking about the coronavirus, and Vice President Pence was trying to say, he was saying what a wonderful job the administration had done, and they, because of their swift action, they'd saved all these lives. And then Kamala Harris, as she's talking about it, says that, you had people over in China that were there to help look out for us and protect us, and your administration pulled them out. And here's my point: they were each trying to make statements of fact. Now, the fact checkers can pour over all of it and decide what was truthful and what was not, but that is not going to be effective in that moment. I mean, basically, they're each making statements. They're saying, no, what really happened is this. Well, what happened is this. Well, no, that's not true. This is true, and nobody watching, necessarily knows what to believe, or you're probably going to believe what your biases are lined up with. But how would Kamala Harris, for example, been able to be more effective talking about some of those things with the virus?
It might have sounded like this. You can start with the fact, but you got to go to empathy right away. So you start with the fact, and it sounds like this. On such and such date, this is when the virus was being brought out. Because we had people on the ground at this date in China, it gave us the opportunity to see that this was going to be a big thing. Our military warned because they saw what China was doing by building a emergency hospital the size of things. And in a month, they built an entire hospital in order to deal with the contagion as it showed up there. They got way ahead of it. They literally built it. Feel free to go on YouTube and watch them build how quickly they built that hotel, because it's well documented. Gosh, it'd be really interesting if American leadership would have done the same thing in order to prevent Americans from getting sick in the same way that China did. China prevented their virus from spreading throughout their country. We didn't choose to do that. Under your task force, on such and such date, you pulled these people out of China, which then didn't allow us to know the extent of the virus and really find out how bad it was going to be. What care would have looked like, now that's where the empathy would have come in, where care and protection for the citizens of the United States would have looked like, is this would have taken place in this city, this would have taken place in this city, this would have taken place in this city. Instead, what the president said on these dates is that these Democratic people weren't doing their job. Meanwhile, that's not a state thing. It's a government protection thing. And as the charge of the hat force, where was your voice, Mike Pence? Why were you not fighting hard enough for the American people? You should have stood up for us, and you didn't stand up for us. Notice she's taking the fight to him. You did not protect it. You did not protect it. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, what did you do is you followed your leader in a very loyal way. But guess what? You didn't fight for the Americans. You are not a responsible person, Mike Pence.
See, that was the missed opportunity, because he is the head of the coronavirus task force. It could have pivoted to him. But what would you say? Let me be Mike Pence here for a moment and say, the president did a really fantastic job addressing this virus from the beginning. And if he hadn't taken decisive action, 2 million people would have died.
Yes, I remember that press conference when he came out and it said that we might lose, first off, that there was nobody going to die. And then all of a sudden there might be 250,000 people that are going to die, and that there might be 2 million people that are going to die. And I remember that press conference. And what wound up happening, though, is that there wasn't any action that followed that press conference. So we're really going to look at a north of 400,000 or almost 500,000 people that are going to die somewhere between now and next June, if your administration stays in power.
Well, you would have been able to hear a pin drop after that one.
Yeah, if you guys stay in charge, there's going to be, because we're already at 250, and he did promise us 250,000 would die, and I'm going to hold him to that, because there's a press conference that showed 250 people. But you know what? It's not going to get up to 2 million, because if the American public is now getting a sense that even President Trump can get sick with the coronavirus with all the protection that he doesn't use, well, there's a certain amount of his followers are going to follow him and not use protection the way he's not using protection. But the Americans are getting wise. The NFL is all wearing masks. The NBA is not letting anybody in. Clearly, the sports team gets that they need to protect their most valuable assets. But the president doesn't protect his most valuable asset, and his team that is now 15 people, 17, 19 people, 6 up to this point. And by the way, Tom, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Just with a little bit of research, I would actually have those numbers very clear.
Right. Well, and Kamala Harris, the prosecutor, she knows her numbers. She preps on. So you saw that she was writing things down as he was saying things, so she could come back with points. But
It's too late. All that stuff, it's too late. All that stuff can be done ahead of time. You don't need to wait for know what he's going to say next. All you got to do is watch what he debated last time. You know what he's going to say next, or look at the talking points. You know what they're going to say next. They're going to go and use the swine flu example. Fantastic. You want to use that example? Why is she not ready for that example? Is my curious sentence. Right. Now, if I want to coach Pence now, and this just goes to say, I could coach Pence on the other side. It would be something like this. With the current leadership, we are doing the best we can with the decisions we've made by trying to make this a states' rights thing and allow the states to take initiative, because our belief is that the federal government isn't responsible. The states need to really take more leadership on this. Of course, they didn't tell the states that ahead of time, because the states can't negotiate because the states can't negotiate an international contract to get PPE. See, it's like, and it's a little bit of a losing battle on their side, Tom, because they're advocating for something, states' rights, but that means states need to make their international decision making. Guess what California did? They made their international contracts. They want, screw it. You guys aren't going to do it. We're going to make our agreements over on this side to get our PPE this way, and we're going to be staffed up. That's why on a scale of 1 to 10, California is like a level 5 right now of danger, where all the other states that do not have the financial acumen and financial value that California is. Alabama is number 1. Wisconsin is number 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. They are number 1 danger.
Right. Number 1 being not at a level that they can do much to help themselves. I mean, California is this bigger than a lot of countries on earth. I mean, they're like right. The 6th biggest, 6th
largest economy. Yeah, that's right. So you're taking the economy of basically another country, which California kind of like manifests, and I mean, no one has, and I wish they would. It's like, you want to call California liberal? Well, look what the liberal economy has done for itself. It's made itself into the 6th biggest economy because it knows how to play both sides of the capitalist, socialist, capitalist narrative. It knows how to do both narratives.
Yeah, I thought there was sort of a missed opportunity for Kamala Harris at the debate too, because Goldman Sachs just that day or the day before had changed their guidance on the economic outlook, and they're saying, and this is a non-partisan organization, all they care about is finance and how the economy is going to be, and are the numbers going to be better or worse. So this is apolitical, and they came out and said, if the Democrats sweep, meaning get Biden elected in the White House and take over the Senate, that the economy will recover faster. Absolutely. And there will be 7.5 million more jobs created than will be created under the Trump another Trump administration. And they knew that it's likely that the Biden administration will increase taxes. But they said even if they do increase taxes on corporations and wealthy people, the reality is there'll be so many more people of the masses contributing to the economy because they have jobs, that those companies will do better than if these people don't have jobs and the companies have lower taxes. So I mean, it was really very black and white,
very succinct, and I feel disheartened that she didn't prep on those things to get them into smaller sound bites. It's a classic mistake that's made is, I need to explain to get understanding. You do not have to get explanation to get understanding. Empathy creates a greater understanding or a depth of experience. Here's what growth looks like. Growth looks like the businesses to have empowerment that's balanced with taxes, not less taxes create more growth. That's not true. If you're going to create these little digestible sound bites that land and are memorable, you need to prepare them. And then when you know what the other person's talking point is, then, well, I guess we're going to more trickle down. I guess, it sounds like Mike Pence, you're advocating some more trickle down economics, that if we come in, the tax and spend, gosh, you think that trickle down is going to continue to work. Americans, does trickle down work for you over the last 4 years? If you're a voter right now, has trickle down really got down to you? Yeah, it might have met some of you folks might have got a tax break. What did you again say that they got? $2,000 a month tax relief for the family of 4? Oh yeah, interesting talking point. Yeah, regrettably, that talking point does not really reach the levels of society that we needed to. Great talking point, no help. Now look at how quickly I kind of like dismissed it. But it's like you're calling it for what it is instead of trying to explain that it's not true. You see, and you and I both know, and you and I have been down, our 3-year journey of being together or more. I just got to think about that, but 3 solid at least. Yeah. But we've been down this journey. It's like, in the middle of a sale, you don't want to explain too much. You don't need to explain too much. You just got to talk about what their needs are.
Yeah, no, you explain too much, you lose the sale.
Right.
You address their needs and get out of the way. And
get out of the way.
In sales, they're going to just, here, take my credit card, please.
Right. Right. And as a business guy with integrity, you deliver for whatever the price point you're delivering at, a high value product that's efficient and effective to get people's word out into the world. So you're delivering because you're an integrity piece. And the only problem is in the political world, people promise things they can't deliver to 100%, and they know they can't deliver it 100%. The only problem is that they're only delivering to to get the vote. They're not actually delivering it to actually make a difference, and that's where politics needs a communication upgrade. So we can use that as a Twitter quote right there. It's like, really, politics needs a communication upgrade so that the trust and the mutual respect starts to be restored. And we've got to get mutual respect to be restored. Otherwise, what'll basically happen, is what happened, at the end of the Civil War, which is, I think it's the Whigs split and the Republicans went over here, the Democrats over here, and and literally it was the death of the Whig Party, which was the former, anyways. So any of you historians out there know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into explanation of the good reason why really the Democrats and the Republicans need to clean up their narrative, because really basically the pressure right now on the Republicans is there's people from the Republican Party that have had it because you promised us fiscal responsibility. Then you gave money to the corporations and to the rich, and then you ballooned the deficit. And now who's really going to clean it up? Well, the next fiscally responsible Democrat's going to show up, because right now you're demonstrating that there's not a fiscally responsible Republican because all of them are retiring.
It's amazing how that has flipped in the last 10 years, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
It's completely flipped. And
when was, who was the last president that balanced the budget? Do you know?
Bill Clinton, isn't it?
That's right. Zero. Yeah. He came on there and says, the budget, the deficit is zero. He said, you wanted it and you Republicans voted for it, and the Democrats worked with you to get it. We got to zero. And our economy's doing pretty damn good. Yeah. We still have social issues. Yeah, we haven't done anything about racism. Yes, the crime stuff is dead, but we compromised and we got to the middle somehow.
Yeah, there was a budget surplus when Bill Clinton left office. And of
There
course,
was.
9/11 happens and we get into deficit spending like crazy over
Yep.
the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then fast forward, here we are today, so many years later, after the
That's right.
two economic really
Right.
depression level collapses.
Right.
And
Right.
it's out of control.
Yeah.
And all of that spending that occurred has occurred with every administration since, Republican and Democrat, Obama included, because of the 2008, 2009
Yeah, he had to
hole
pick
we
it
had
up
to
and
dig out of,
the
right?
hole,
And save the
hole.
auto industry, among
And
others.
save the banking industry.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
and literally also save the insurance industry that was backing the banking industry. They had to say that. I'm sitting to myself because I'm thinking of AIG. AIG insured all those folks and then literally collapsed. But wait a minute, that makes sure all those people. Literally, there's one of their buildings down the street that I have. They had to take their sign off. But then, 3 years later, their sign went back up on the building because it got bailed out.
Yeah.
Because they got bailed out and they didn't have to lose all of those jobs.
This was the too big to fail, right?
The too big to fail energy that's showing up. And then it's like, how much time can you how much? Oh, geez. So anyway, so very, very important. Money's important to us because it's our illusionary value instrument, instrument of value. So it's not the thing that's most valuable, because we're not going to trade money for our kids. We're not going to trade money for many people trade their money for their well-being, but there are some things that I ain't going to pay for that. I'm not going to pay for that, but some people do pay for that.
Well, so all this exasperation is coming from a place of contempt, is it not?
It is the contempt, and just looking at what does the contempt stand for? What is the thing that really is thing is to really basically kind of cut into, and create a divisive language where I'm the morally superior person. And you can see it in the debate. Both people were contemptuous to each other. I mean, and Pence as the moral authority, he has people that believe that he is the moral authority for that party. They're actually going to give Trump a push. He's not the moral authority. Pence is the moral authority. So he looks down on, just like you Democrats, you will this. And Kamala does the same thing on her side, which is you guys do this. And they're in that space of, contempt, which is really contempt is the thing that leads you to a divorce. Well, you don't want the divide on one nation under God. You don't want that indivisible piece with liberty and justice, which is also not taking place. So right now we've got one party advocating for liberty, which is I get to choose to wear my mask or not wear my mask. But divisible is being split with the contempt narrative. And it's not really healthy for us. And that's the thing that we really got to watch as a nation is that we can't keep doing the adversarial, no, my side is better than your side. It's you've got to have demonstrable actions. Here's a good example. Trump just said, I'm not doing the stimulus package until after the election.
Right.
Immediately, that's called a deal or a bribe. He says he's the best deal maker. This is a bribe. This is not a deal. Now, I've seen many people on Twitter or just one or two people write down, oh, that's because the Democrats put pork in it. In other words, they put extra spending things in it. Well, that's what a collaborative democracy does, is they say, we need to give some things to these other areas, not just to this one area called this voter, and you can't bribe them into it. It's literally, I am buying your vote. If you vote for me, you're going to get these things. Oh, by the way, just to let all those voters know, it's like, hey, that looks like a bribe. I guess you're just going to bribe the voters. Kamala Harris could have said that. Oh, that's a bribe. Yeah, bribes don't really work well in deals. Deals aren't like one-sided that you get to like, stick it to one group of people and then the other group of people are just left hanging out. I mean, that's not a democracy, is it? Is that what you're advocating for? Is that one side, only the people that vote for it? And oh, by the way, we've done this already. You've already tried to bribe us a couple of different times. Your administration shut down the government 3 times. Oh, by the way, and you shut down the government the longest in our nation's history. Gosh, is that the way you're going to do this? Is that, we're going to get more of that instability? Oh, you're going to create more unpredictability for government workers and other people that depend on the government? Is that what we're doing next? Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that depend on the government to be stable so they can have a entrepreneurial contract with the government. Is that what we're doing again? Oh, for 4 more years, we're going to do that. See, scary honesty is not adversarial. It just isn't. It's like, this is the honesty. Now, tax and spend as a winning narrative is something that the Republicans have run on. But the only problem is that they're the ones that are spending tax money to big corporations and they're not including that as a spend. They're saying, oh no, it's not a spend. It's like, it's just giving us the opportunity to defund things we don't like. So I feel exasperated, Tom. Thanks very much for bringing this up. Because because when communication isn't doing scary honesty, then you can't actually work on the problem. You can't. And you can't promise a plan you don't have because you don't have a plan. So
that was one of the exasperating things of Pence saying, oh yeah, that we're going to replace Obamacare. I mean, where's the plan? I mean, there was absolutely no plan provided. Where's the plan? But I don't think that he got he saw enough consequences of that statement in the debate the other night because Kamala Harris didn't have the skills
to pivot.
To pivot,
to pivot on. It's like, oh, great! I'm so glad you brought up your plan. Do just like his taxes, it doesn't seem like it's materializing. Oh, wait, was that the plan that everybody voted down? That John McCain voted down with the thumbs down? Oh, that was the plan. That was your plan, and he decided he wasn't going to go with that. Gosh, I'm at least glad one person had integrity in the Republican Party in order to do thumbs down on that. It's like, oh my God.
Boy, bring up John McCain. Trump would have hated that.
Just like stick it in and he would have been going like, yeah, at least I saved 20 million people off the insurance rolls, and they couldn't get it done then from then on. And then, the blue wave came in 2018. Okay. Anyway. So this has been an exciting conversation, Tom.
And I we probably made a lot of listeners even more exasperated, but I think we're all need to.
There's a way out.
Recover.
There's a way out. There's a way out, Tom. Don't everybody that's listening, please know there's a way out. There's a way out. There is an off-ramp on this. And I know we can get back to restoration. I know that we can get back to honest dialogue and facilitation. I know we can. I mean, I've got stories of people that would say, Bill, that was impossible. How did you do that? And I say, there's a way out. There's a way back. There's a way through to restoration.
All right. Well, I look forward to that, Bill. Thanks so much.
Right. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth Podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.